Welcome back to the Kosi Arsenal channel. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. Arsenal breathed a sigh of relief as Bukayo Saka was back yesterday and he scored against Fulham as we beat them 2-1. However, that breath of relief was just momentarily stopped by two injuries to Jurrien and Gabriel Magalhaes. As we stand here, Arsenal play Madrid in 6 days, and two of our most reliable, most consistent and best centre-backs and right-back are not available. So what is going on with this injury situation? What do we know? What has the manager said? And what is the damage? What could be done in order for us to go into Madrid with these players or without them? Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Let me know, do you think we stand a chance with Gabriel out and Timber out when we play Madrid? Or do you think it's over without Gabriel, without Timber? You can't go and face Madrid and expect anything. Now, yesterday, as we were taking on Fulham, Gabriel Magalhaes was taken off about 16 minutes into the game with what Mikel Arteta has described as something in his hamstring. Now, he said these are players that don't want to come off at any point in time, referring to Gabriel and Jurrien. And therefore, when you see Gabriel listing and coming off, it is actually something bad. Of course, we know hamstring injuries, ACLs, knee injuries are actually very, very chaotic. Now, as if that was not enough, Mikel Arteta also confirmed that Jurrien is suffering with something in his knee. He said he was struggling for quite some time, but he wanted to continue, and therefore he did until he couldn't continue anymore. Obviously, you can't blame the manager for that. Jurrien was in pain, but we didn't have many options there, right there and then, as Ricardo Calafiori was already sidelined for that game, and also Benjamin White was sidelined for the Fulham game as well. So we didn't have many options. All we could do was pray that Jurrien continues for as much and for as long as he did. So those are two bad injuries that we have suffered at the beginning of this week. So the manager, talking about the situation, he was a little bit grumpy, but of course there's nothing to do. You're the manager and you have a very, very difficult job now to find a replacement and to find ways to deal with this situation as we get into the Madrid game. So talking about the Gabriel injury, Mikel said they are two players in this team that never want to come off. Gabi felt something in his hamstring. We don't know how big that is. With Jurrien as well, he was already struggling very early in the game. He managed to continue at some point. He couldn't. So that's the downside to it. Jurrien injury is a knee injury. It is not an ACL. On the importance of potentially missing Gabriel and Timber for the upcoming games, Mikel says the good thing is that it's been like this the whole season. You see Martinelli today, you say we are missing 3 months. You see Bukayo Saka, and then you see Bukayo Saka 4 months. Gabriel Jesus almost the whole season. How we have managed to be where we are with all these injuries, only God knows. Ben White hasn't participated at all this season. It is what it is. We want it so much that we're going to give it a real go, and we're very excited for next week as we take on Real Madrid. On the defensive injury problems, he said you can imagine we've lost 4 players in the defensive line in 1 week. Calafiori, Ben White, Jurrien and Gabriel Magalhaes. We still have another 4 that are so willing that they will do their job. So that is Mikel Arteta on the situation of the injuries regarding the 4 players that didn't make it out of the Fulham game. And he's been quite honest, but also very, very worrying. I mean, he says with Gabriel, we don't know how big it is, and with Jurrien it's the knee, and of course we know knee injuries. But one thing I actually agree with him is that these 4 players have been really good and they've been really consistent. Sorry, 2 players, Gabriel and Timber. They've been the most consistent and they've been the most informed players that we have had at the club. So missing them as we go into Madrid, injuries really want to kill us. This season, it has been a disaster. 90% due to injuries and maybe other percentages due to our bad judgment in the windows. But this is really, really bad. And it could be worse because Mikel says We have lost 4 defenders in our defensive line in 1 week. And he says, White, we don't know what is wrong with Ben White at the moment, but he has really not participated for the whole season, honestly. And I saw someone saying Ben White is not injured. For a player that has not played a whole season and the reason has been injuries, how do you really convince me and how do you really convince us that he's just out and not injured? With Ricardo Calafiori, we know he's got a trail of injuries. Arsenal signed him knowing very well that he is this kind of guy, but I think we decided to think about his ability and his future as a very, very good and talented defender that can do things on the ball that Mikel Arteta really wants over his past injury record. I don't have a problem with that. I only have a concern that when is he really going to do the things that we want him to do if he's never on the pitch? Now, it's a very bad time for us to pick up these injuries. First and foremost, like I said, we have a game in 1 week, 6 days to be exact. We take on Real Madrid in the first leg of the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League. And our defense has been our trademark this season. Yes, we have the Everton game that will be coming up a little bit earlier on, and that could be, it's a pointless game. But the Real Madrid one is one where we have to give everything we've got. And I was really hoping when I was doing my notes for the Real Madrid video, which is not out yet, will be out probably in 2 days or tomorrow, I was thinking that we could stop Real Madrid using our defense. I mean, when you think about Kylian Mbappe and how good he is, you could employ a player like Jurrien to stop him in his tracks. And then you have a player like Lewis Skelly or a player like Gabriel Magalhaes who can really stop Vinicius Jr. If you can stop the front three, Vinicius, Mbappe, and Rodrigo, you are somewhere, right? And then the midfield, the likes of Jude Bellingham, that can be dealt with. I think we've got enough in our midfield with Partey, Odegaard, and Rice to stop Madrid in their tracks in midfield. But without our defense, without our best defenders, I think Saliba's been quite off form. Not really bad, but just quite off form. And I don't think that Jakub Kiwior gives you enough cover for Gabriel. It's just not good enough. So with Timber and Gabi out, the Real Madrid game is no longer looking like an entertaining and exciting fixture for us. It's looking like a flex. It's looking like a hustle. We are going to go there and sweat. We're going to try as much as we can, I understand, but it's not going to be easy. It's going to be more nervous than exciting. That is the truth. So why do I think that these are the most bad injuries that we have suffered this season, especially after losing Saka, Odegaard, Martinelli? Why do I think that this time it is really bad? Let's start off with Gabriel Magalhaes. Gabriel Magalhaes has no replacement in this Arsenal team. Now, I'll tell you something. William Saliba is really talented and really good. But when you have Timber available, and you have White available, and you have Tomiyasu available, all those can play comfortably well at the right centre back. They can play very well there, and you can get some good quality. Obviously, not at the level of William Saliba, but think about this. Saliba loves to be on the ball and is comfortable on the ball and is very confident. Those traits we can get with a player like Jurrien Timber. And then you have this ability of William Saliba to, pick up the ball and carry it to some distance, probably until the center line. You can get that with Benjamin White. And then you have the few goals that William Saliba comes in with occasionally. You can get those goals, again, occasionally with a player like Ben White. So, although William Saliba is the most talented centre-back at Arsenal, when it comes to Gabriel, he's got no replacement. Of course, there is Jakub Kiwior, who came on for Gabriel against Fulham. And of course, he's going to have to deliver against Real Madrid. But it is really different. I mean, if this is WoW, it's like you have a tank and it's mechanically damaged, and then you bring in a Jeep. A Jeep is really a good-looking car, but in a WoW, it doesn't do and serve the same purpose as a tank. I mean, it doesn't have the armor, and it can't do the job. So that is the difference between Kiwior and Gabriel Magalhaes. Magalhaes is an armored tank, and Jakub Kiwior is a Jeep or a Ferrari, depending on what you want to call him. So that is the first thing that I think Gabriel, does to us. We can't replace him. He's one of the players that gives you qualities you just don't have anywhere else in the squad. Not in Skelly, not in Calafiori, not in any other centre back. The other thing that I really think that we're going to miss about him is he's a big game player. And when I say big game player, I mean the goals. He really scores goals against big teams, and he has picked up some good points for us in some good games, and you love it. He did score against Sporting, he did score against Manchester City, and so on and so forth. So you need players that are big game players, and that's why we've been very excited about Saka coming back at the right time when Arsenal face Madrid. It's been a very, very good timing. It's been very, very, very perfect timing. He comes back, a big game player, when we are playing a big team on a big occasion in one of the most important games of the season. And so that is the same with Gabriel Magalhaes. He will score a header, kind of like Sergio Ramos. He will score for you a header, he will keep headers out, and he will keep defenders silent. His goals, for me, were one of the reasons why I was saying, maybe Madrid are not so scary. Maybe we could deal with Madrid, this and that. But without his goals in this team, I'm really worried, and I'm not as confident as I was a week or two ago. The other reason as to why I really think that we gonna miss him, he's been the most informed centre-back this campaign. Now, the William Saliba defenders and the William Saliba supporters don't get on my shoulders, on my knees, not really. I'm not saying he's been more talented all of a sudden. We know what Saliba is, and we know what he can do. But this campaign, we can all agree that player of the season might actually be between Gabriel Magalhaes and David Raya. And I'm not even kidding, and I'm not even joking. These guys have been really, really good. So losing your most informed defender, a guy that is also scoring goals, and most importantly, he understands Saliba. That is one of the reasons why I'm scared. I mean, Saliba is good. He can be your Virgil van Dijk, he can be your Rio Ferdinand, he can be your Sergio Ramos. But defenses are about partnerships. Centre-backs are about partnerships. You don't just wake up in the morning and say, I'm the best centre-back in the world. Virgil van Dijk, over the years, has played with a couple of centre-backs that have understood him and made him what he is. These days, he plays with Konate, and however much Van Dijk is good, Konate really complements him very well. So Saliba and Gabriel understand each other. And that's why you see either both of them are really good and they're really on form, or one of them is kind of struggling and the other is covering him. This season, it has been Gabriel covering Saliba, and last season and the previous seasons, it was Saliba covering Gabriel. So without that understanding and without that connection, it's going to be really difficult for us to stop one of the best attacks in the world in Mbappe, Vinicius, and Rodrigo. When it comes to Jurrien Timber, what can I say? A consistent footballer that we can argue is not just one of the most talented defenders at Arsenal, but maybe one of the most talented players in the team. This guy, on the ball, off the ball, is so balanced. Like, when you think about Timber, his on-the-ball skill is incredulously good. But when you think about his off-the-ball skill, he is a monster, he's a beast, and he's a reliable defender. Like, he's the opposite of Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, credit Trent, he's one of the best creative defenders in the world, actually one of the best creative players in the world, despite the fact that he's deployed at right back. And I don't compare his creativity to Jurrien Timber's, but I'm saying as a right back, Jurrien Timber is more balanced. I mean, you can trust him to defend, and you can also trust him going forward and making things happen. The first thing I want to say is, against Madrid, I wanted Jurrien Timber to play. And I know, yes, White is, the better attacking right back, but you have Vinicius Jr. and Mbappe. If those guys swap positions, if they try to bring real football at you, we know which player is good at defending 1v1 situations out wide. That is Jurrien Timber. That is not Benjamin White. And Timber has been consistent, reliable, and the most informed fullback this campaign. I mean, people are talking about Lewis Kelly, this and that, but the reason as why we are not talking about Jurrien Timber at any point this season is because he has done his job perfectly well, and yes, he's a contender too for player of the season. So when you think about all that, I think Timber for me in the Madrid game is irreplaceable. Gabriel is irreplaceable for us this season, and I don't know what we're gonna do. Now, I really hope and I really pray that Ricardo Calafiori is back by the time we play Madrid, but I don't want him in the Madrid game. Again, he's like Alexander Zinchenko. You don't get the defensive ounce you get from a player like Jurrien Timber. You don't get it from Ricardo Calafiori. When it comes to Ben White, I think we have no option. We've got to trust him, and we pray and hope that he actually turns up with a very good performance. There is nothing I'm going to say apart from this is a crisis. I mean, this whole season has been a crisis, and when I think about what we've gone through and what we have to go through at a moment where we were thinking, Saka is back, our defense is already in form, our midfield is coming together, maybe we have a chance against Madrid, this is a bloody crisis. Hit the like button, I'll see you soon.